So I found another Flat Earth video that I thought was interesting enough to respond to, this time from a Marty Leeds. Anyhow, he starts off in what seems to be the structure of a joke.
A Mayan elder wearing traditional Mayan garb walks into a bar.
It's not funny, but he starts off by comparing flat earthers to Mayans or the Anishinaabe, which are both indigenous peoples who traditionally believed that the earth or the world was held up on some sort of animal, basically saying that people will try to respect their beliefs but think flat earthers are ridiculous. Here's the thing. Genuinely believing in a flat earth or similar cosmologies is an uneducated position. And I mean, you presumably had access to proper education your whole life, high school at the very least, and as such, it's kind of shocking when you go against what everyone has been taught through their entire lives and what every scientist has been saying for millennia. But it's a bit different for traditional indigenous beliefs. For one, I don't know how many native people still genuinely believe in those old cosmologies. They may just be old ideas that they remember for the sake of preserving their culture. Another thing to consider is that Native Americans don't have as much access to proper education. What with poverty and the 54% dropout rate among Native Americans, it's sadly, things are really tough for Native Americans. But I see this argument coming up every now and then amongst flat earthers that ancient or old civilizations believed in a flat earth too, or some similar sort of model, so it's not that crazy. Well, I mean, isn't it funny that as civilizations began to advance, they started to accept the globe Earth? It's almost as if things appear to be flat at first, but when you really scrutinize the idea and you analyze the facts, you know, the measurements, observations, and such, the Earth proves itself to be round.
The following video is for educational purposes only. The Earth being a spinning globe and going around the sun was and is taught as absolute fact. But if you were like me, you probably often question whether or not you really learned anything in school.
And here we get to a central part of the flat Earth theory, and that's distrust of education and of authority figures, and that, among other things, makes this a conspiracy theory, and as such, there's a certain kind of person to believe in the flat Earth. That's the kind of person to believe in conspiracy theories. You know, the guys who don't trust anyone and who are just looking for explanations of things that aren't easy to explain. And because there is this type of person to believe in conspiracy theories that have this certain way of thinking, flat earthers often believe in many other conspiracy theories as well, and this guy is no exception.
Is there any great flaw or fault in restating our assumptions and clarifying with scientific precision the things that we have come to know to be quote-unquote true and without question? What is so wrong with critically examining fundamental and widely accepted ideas about such things as the shape of the Earth and the nature of the system that we reside in?
No, there's nothing wrong with questioning things, even if we believe it to be obvious. In fact, it's admirable. The problem is that when you use faulty reasoning, faulty logic, faulty arguments, faulty observations, faulty science, and faulty math to come to a faulty conclusion that goes against what every expert has said for the past, 2,400 years, you look like an idiot.
Are we supposed to take at face value the promulgations made by governments and self-proclaimed authorities of science, informing us about the heavens above? If you were like me, you take to heart what the great George Carlin said about governments.
Okay, he doesn't bother to read it because, we all click on a YouTube video to read. But it says, I have a few general rules, the first of which is I don't believe anything the government tells me. See, this is what I was talking about, a distrust of authority figures. I don't know why George Carlin is the face of this all of a sudden, but point is, these guys have to ignore the authorities, and that's because every space agency, as well as every astronomer and every astrophysicist, and well, every scientist in general, says that the Earth is a globe, and they've given pretty strong evidence for it. So if we ignore all of that, and using unfounded conspiracy theories, just get rid of the millennia of hard work done by experts, and just go by what crazy people say on the internet, sure, could be flat.
How much does the average person even know about the movements of the planets, the sun, the moon, and the Earth? Quite some time ago, as I first started exploring the flat Earth model, I posted something on my Facebook account asking my friends a simple question, and it was essentially this: does the moon rotate on its axis? Now, this seems like it should be a pretty easy question to answer, one that an educated populace would be able to answer without so much as a glance at a textbook or looking the answer up online. But funny enough, the answers in the comments section varied so wildly and so completely that it made me realize that most people are going through life clinging, sometimes desperately, to models, ideas, and paradigms that they really know nothing about. And this is a serious problem.
I don't know how true this is because he doesn't actually show the comments, and it's impossible for me to track this down, it appears. But besides, assuming that this is true, not everybody is an astronomer. Not everybody knows what they're talking about, and that doesn't mean that everybody's brainwashed and controlled by the government.
So what do we do about this problem? Well, the best way I have always learned to get to the bottom of things is to apply the scientific method, using reason and logic as my guides to make tangible the best answers to the proposed questions at hand.
Like scientists do? You know, like astronomers, astrophysicists? Maybe we should take a look at their work?
Our litmus test will be A. Are we using the scientific method, not relying on preconception or bias to arrive at our conclusions? Or B. Have we failed at such a noble objective? Science is not monopolized by governmental institutions and by men in white lab coats. Science belongs in the hands of each and every human being on this earth, regardless of what anyone says.
I'm not saying that it is. It's just that men, people in white lab coats, not just men, as well as government institutions, i.e. space agencies, they've proven it pretty thoroughly already. And for that matter, there are plenty of amateur astronomers who have done the same thing as well. One thing about science, though, is that it rejects ideas that are unfalsifiable, and similarly, it rejects hypotheses that rely on further ad hoc hypotheses to prevent it from being falsified, sort of moving the goalpost. And you know what? That's all the flat Earth hypothesis is. I've actually made a video about that topic, and you can check it out here if I can remember to put it there. I'm pretty bad at remembering it, but you should definitely consider checking that out. I think it's pretty good.
In the noble pursuit of science, if one attacks another for simply making an inquiry or asking a question, you can be sure that that individual is not, in any way, shape, or form, engaging in the scientific method. Period.
People aren't making fun of you for asking questions and trying to find answers. At least I don't think so. The issue is with your methods and with your conclusion, because your methods include completely disregarding every expert because you have to, and instead relying on conspiracy theories, some misinformed book from 1881, some armchair researchers who are even less informed, and sometimes even religion. That's not very scientific either. Okay, here it's basically complaining that people are mean on the internet. And yeah, people are mean on the internet. I mean, I'm not stoked about it either, but that's just kind of how it is. I don't know what you want me to tell you. Virtually anybody that has any idea or opinion can be ridiculed for stating it on the internet. You just kind of have to learn to deal with that. He does go on to say that we should be respectful and constructive, and, you know, I can respect that. And the world would be a lot better place if we could all agree on that, but sadly, sometimes, you know, the comments on YouTube or Reddit or something just isn't always the place to go to if that's what you're looking for.
This video is not intended to be an unbiased scientific investigation because ultimately that investigation rests in your hands and in the hands of the community at large.
And experts. Don't forget about the experts. I also want to let you guys know that I do have a Twitch channel, and I'll put that in the description if I can remember. But basically, if I decide to have a stream of me editing or researching for my next video, then I'll put that on Twitch instead of YouTube, because YouTube kinda sucks for live streaming. And maybe you didn't even know that I have editing streams sometimes, but I do. And now they're on Twitch. Maybe sometimes I'll play games as well. After all, it is Twitch, but check that out if you're interested.